Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk about my Magic the Gathering cube, and if you don't know what a cube is, it's basically a list or like a deck of cards that you keep stored together that is meant to be drafted. You open packs and build your deck, play, and then take apart your decks. It can be drafted over and over again. You don't want to spend money on packs. You probably already have like a bunch of bulk sitting around. Definitely like give Cube a try. I've been playing it for the past couple weeks instead of playing Commander, and I really liked it, so I would definitely recommend it to anybody. Since you're like choosing the cards and building the cube, you are kind of like designing your set of Magic the Gathering. What do you find the most fun? What do you want the colors to do? What are the archetype? If you could design any Magic the Gathering set, you can. If you want to use custom cards, if you want to use proxies, if you want to include or like not include certain colors, even you can do anything that you could think of. You can do. When I told my one friend that I was building this, he went ahead and built an artifact cube. That's something that's always like been on his mind, and he got it built up, and me and him and another friend, we got to play it, and that was a really fun cube to play. All the cards are like artifact themed, so he was able to express himself that way. And he has a blog post on Cube Cobra that I'm going to link down in the comments or description, I guess, and you guys should definitely go check that out. He actually like keeps up with that very frequently. I should probably ask him for advice on keeping consistent with Magic the Gathering content, but I'm gonna try to do better at that. Once I get this cube video out, in a week I'm gonna have another video out back talking about Commander. I know I haven't done like a deck tech since my first video, but with the big breaks between my videos, it feels like forever. So I want to definitely get more consistent and just grow the channel a little bit more. Back to the cube. The cube I built is known as a bar cube. It doesn't use any dice or any tokens. Now, some people online you'll see use no sleeves, but I can't get down with all that. With it not having to need any game accessories, the cube is very portable. I keep it in this storage box, and if I know I'm going to be playing with my friends, I just grab this off my desk, and we're good to play Magic the Gathering. Anything I'll ever need to play Magic the Gathering is in this box, and I've enjoyed that. Like, considering like if you want to play Commander, you got to bring your 6 Commander decks, you got to bring your dice, your tokens, your play mat. It's just too much. That's just like also another thing that inspired me to build this cube. Just I felt like Commander has just been a little too much recently. The sets dropping, all the universes beyond, the consumer culture that comes with Commander, all the legendaries dropping that encourage you to build decks. Now, if you look online and like you want to build a cube yourself, cubes come in like many different sizes. You'll usually see them at a minimum of 360 cards, then 540 and 720, and just increasing by what, like 180 cards each time. But that's just like a guideline, and that's meant to support like an 8-person draft. But I rarely get 4 people together to play Commander, so having to build a cube for 8 people was kind of unnecessary for me and my play group. Kind of do want this to be like a more like low-key kitchen table environment when playing my cube. I'm gonna go like a little bit into the cube that I built. I'll have a list of my cube down in the comments. Go check it out on Cube Cobra. Also, if you're interested in cube, check out that site Cube Cobra. There's an explore cubes tab, and you can look at all types of different cubes. You can do literally anything with cube. It has just as much, if not like self-expression, as Commander. Definitely go build out a cube after you finish this video. I'm just gonna get a little bit into the cube tech that I did, and just talk about the strategies and show some cards on screen. I do have some like my favorite cards in the cube, so they are a little pricey, but and spend money on Magic the Gathering. It's just cardboard. So like just the 5 colors by themselves, I started off with that and then paired each color together to see like how that would make the archetype. And with me having such a small pool of cards, keeping it more simple, allowed for like smoother cohesion between the colors and archetypes. So green is pretty typical. You're trying to play big creatures, you're ramping, and you're playing lands. Red is still the aggressive color. You have some small early game threats, but you also have like some aggressive instants and sorceries. Black is black. I mean, it's just graveyard shenanigans, sacrifice, and a little bit of life gain just from like the payoffs from sacrifice. Blue is your typical tempo color. Some interaction. There's 1 or 2 counter spells. I didn't want to include too many. And you're just trying to tempo the game so that you can take advantage and win. And white is a creature combat focused color. So a lot of the creatures have an impact on combat. And there's also some stacks effects, slow down the other opponent. And if you go back and pair everything together, it's pretty self-explanatory. White black is the gain and drain archetype. You're going to want to use sack outlets to sacrifice your small white creatures. to get advantage, and then maybe slow the game down until you can get some bigger threats on the board. Boros is a small creature aggro. You want to land those early game threats. You want to keep pushing and not give your opponent as much time to develop. Selesnya is a mid-range color, so you have like those big creatures from green and those good combat creatures from white, but since you're gonna have to do some ramping first, there's some interaction, keep yourself in the game. Azorius is like combat control. You're just trying to tempo and control combat until you can like get through like with evasive creatures, or just tap down your opponent's creatures so you can keep getting through. Is a spell slinger deck. You're trying to storm off, play as many instants and sorceries as possible, maybe recurring some old ones, or just getting some additional benefit from playing instances and sorceries. Now, Dimir is the only archetype that I chose to be a typo archetype. I did originally want this cube to be all types in Innistrad and that Lorwyn draft that I just played at, and I really wanted to do typo. Cards that I just had like random vampires and like random frogs that really couldn't make like a cohesive game plan, and I just wasn't too much of a fan of it, so I kind of cut all the typal synergies out, but I kept blue black as zombies because that's one of my favorite archetypes. So that's just like it's a slower game plan, but it's like a resilient graveyard game plan. You're gonna try to keep replaying zombies from your graveyard, even though they die. You'll be able to maybe like ping your opponent or just sacrifice them. Yeah, that's just supposed to be like a resilient archetype. You can kill it, but it's just gonna keep coming back and back and back. Simic is like big value spells. You're trying to use the mana from green and the big like instances and sorceries from blue, and just try to ramp to the big spell like value like super early on. Golgari is about land sacrifice, so you got that sacrifice from black and the lands from green. You're gonna want to use like Gitrog or like the Urg of Turd, do like tricky graveyard stuff with lands. Maybe you can figure out like some way to mill and like recur creatures. I haven't drafted the Golgari deck yet, and then I think I had a friend draft it before it was like too successful. I can't wait to go back. I've done a lot of revamping, but I can't wait to go back, either try to draft it myself. Now Rakdos is about like aggressive artifact sacrifice. I have this one card to try to cheat like your bigger artifact threats in early, or you're trying to use artifacts for value in like an aggressive combat or it's sacrificing. Gruul is aggressive big creatures, trying to ramp to big threats and just go tall and just win by just hitting through combat. This is another deck that I've had to revamp. I think I've done a pretty good job. When you're looking through the cube, let me know if you have any opinions on card recommendations. I've been putting all these cards on screen, but if you do want to go check them out, there will be a link in the description. There will also be a link to my friend's artifact cube. Definitely go check that out. He posts a blog post about like changes and his reasoning every other Wednesday of the month. I think every Wednesday, or maybe every third Wednesday of the month. If you found this interesting, you should like try to go build a cube with your friends, whether it's your old commander decks, like I said, old draft cards, bulk. Next week I'll get back to like commander content, and I'll put a deck tech out on this new commander I'm brewing. I'll try to make like a routine uploading videos, whether it's weekly or every other week. If you enjoyed, leave a like. If you have something to say, leave a comment, subscribe, tell your friends about it. Thanks for watching. You guys have a good rest of your day. Look at this guy.